What's up, everybody? It's me. It's still me. It's PLD. This might be our second take, but I'm here still with my brother here.
It's our first try. I'm Richard Eric Jarvi. Welcome to Class Action. It
I'm gonna
worked.
come clean. I'll come
Second
clean.
time's a charm.
Second time the charm. I did this whole intro. I couldn't forget how we did the intro. I've been a little retired. I was like, I'm gonna give it to you. We're gonna give it to me, and I just stopped dead. I went, we can't do this. We're gonna start this again. Luckily, we weren't going live, so we were able to do that. But yeah, here I am throwing myself under the bus, so I might as well just kept going anyway. Whatever. It's the end. It is the end of 2020. We are in the beginning of
Happy New Year.
2021. Happy New Year to you as well. Did you have a good New Year?
I had an interesting year. No, it was actually awesome, but it's still just such a weird year and weird transition. And I don't know. It's tough to call it a good New Year's, but it was still an entertaining one. Let's call it that.
Anytime we get out of 2020 is a good thing, though. So I'll take the
Absolutely.
I'll take the so, well, here on Class Action, we usually put up to directors, actors, films, series, and put them up against each other and come up with custom-made categories and battle them out to the death until we find out, which one is going to be victorious. But this week we're going to do a little something different. Every once in a while, we do like to do some kind of rankings, things of that nature, top 10s, top 5, something like that. We said, well, why not do this? It's the end of the year. Everybody's going to be doing it. Why don't we just do a little bit of something too? Our top movies from 2020. One caveat I have, I have to ask you about some of the films you've seen. I'm going to admit something to everybody here. I didn't get to see, there's a lot of movies I missed in 2020. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of old time watches. Everybody knows if you follow my Twitter, I do like these. I've been doing a lot of these filmographies. I'm still in the middle of the Schwarzenthon right now, all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. But so it's a couple of big movies that I missed. I know a lot of people have told me, "Oh, Soul is one of the greatest movies of the year," and I missed Soul. I haven't seen Soul yet. I got to see Wonder Woman 84. Soul was a big miss for me. I did not get to see Mank yet. I did not get to Promising Young Woman yet. There's a bunch of movies that are out there that I haven't seen. So the caveat is basically, it's top 5 of 2020 of the movies that we've seen. So it's a good way to talk about movies. You know what I mean? But it might not be the most complete list. But you know what? It's a good list for 2020. Let's put it that way.
It's an interesting thing though, because because the reason why you haven't seen it, there is a reason why you haven't seen the movie. Sure, you're busy. But if for example, Dune had come out during the same time that Soul, you would have seen it.
That's true.
No way that you would not have seen it. So I'm not gonna, take a dump on a movie, but there are some priorities that some movies just don't make it in there. And there's a reason for that.
And this one too, Diamond, that Soul, for example, if you want to go back to Soul, Soul is a good, I'm sure it's a fine movie. I've heard great things about it. That's one I'm actually waiting for my wife and I to have the right time to see it because she wants to see it too. So it's not just me doing it, it's also my wife. So I go #blame KAD, not PLD. But she'll never see this, so it's okay. So I just don't say
I love that you're still looking around a bit.
You know, she's dead asleep. That's all right.
But Soul is a good one to save to watch with the family. And that was a fun watch.
So given that, we're going to go back and forth. We each have about 5 we're going to list. In time-honored tradition, if we have one listed and the other one has higher up in the list, we'll punt it for now and talk about it later. And in that case, we're going to bring in some honorable mentions. And after we're done with our rankings, it's not even I hate calling it a ranking because we're not tabulating it like we did last. We're coming up with any kind of tabulation. It's basically us just shooting the shit about the movies we saw this year and movies we liked. And after we're done with that, we may talk about some movies we didn't like, look ahead to 2021. This is just kind of like a very chill episode of Class Action. Just 2 guys talking some shit about movies. So without further ado, thank you. Without further ado, why don't you give me your number 5? I'll let you go first. What your number 5 is at this point.
So this movie started out as my number 1 of the year.
Okay.
And until a lot more movies came out. At number 5, I have Palm Springs.
Okay, we're gonna punt it.
We're punting right from the start.
From the start. So pull in one of your honorable mentions, my friend.
Right. So an honorable mention that became my honorable mention just like a week ago when I rewatched the movie, and it's Bad Boys for Life.
Ah, okay.
So I usually like that is like very popcorn type movie. Like usually these type of movies, they're like 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. But for some reason during my second watch, I was enamored by the movie, and I just, because I'm a huge, like, I'm not on I'm like maybe 20% below Makuga, like being a Bad Boys. Like Bad Boys was my thing when I was growing up. Like that was my thing. But the movie Bad Boys for Life, it isn't. I'm not going to say it's probably the weakest of the three, but they still managed to capture the magic and the back and forth. The chemistry was still there. It was just such an entertaining watch, and the action was awesome. They really tried to mimic Michael Bay's shooting style. The two relatively unknown directors, I think they've done music videos before. I can see why they hired them, because Michael Bay started out the same way.
Yeah, that's true.
They're really trying to use his camera movements, his lighting, his like what do you call it? His filters and stuff like that, and it kind of works. It really does work.
Yeah, I will tell you, this is the kind of movie that shouldn't have worked. It's like 20 years later, however long it is, long time later, getting the band back together again. These kind of movies tend to usually be a little limp, a little like tired. But I got to be honest with you, this is my second favorite of the three. This time I actually like it better than the original Bad Boys. Bad Boys, yeah, is my favorite. This one is my second favorite to a degree. I thought it was really well done. They took the age in stride.
Absolutely.
Martin Lawrence, to be honest with you, I haven't seen Martin Lawrence in years. He came back and he he hadn't lost a step.
He lost some steps, but he didn't lose his game.
That's better. That's probably a better way to say it. Exactly. Will Smith still Will Smith. So that works that way. But there was actually some heart to this film that actually I was really surprised at going through it. And at the time, I mean, when I saw it, it was up there in my top 5 initially at one point. There's enough movies I've seen now to drop it down action wise. It's probably still, I think I'd say my number 10 of the year at this point. So definitely still a fun movie. Exactly what you needed it to be, what you wanted it to be. You're getting what you paid for. And maybe just a smidge more. So it was a good move for them for 2020. I like that.
We're gonna be seeing more of Bad Boys.
Yes, definitely. I think it's definitely going to happen at this point, and it should. Josh Makuga is very excited about that. I know.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm excited for him and with him.
Exactly. All right, I'll go with my number 5. This is one I know is not going to be on your list, and nobody's going to be surprised it's on my list. It's a movie called The Last Full Measure with Ed Harris. The Last Full Measure with Ed Harris.
These are words in English.
Yes, it is. The Last Full Measure, directed by Todd Robinson. It's a film that not many people saw. Wasn't very well publicized or promoted or anything like that. It's a story. It's a true story of a Vietnam War hero, William H. Pitsenbarger. And the film itself is, I would say, it's okay story-wise, okay directed, everything else. It's a solid film that has good moments. It's just some run-of-the-mill moments. There's some kind of cliched moments, but it's the performances that really stand out. It's the first time I've really seen Sebastian Stan lead a movie.
Okay, so he's top billing in this.
Sebastian Stan is the lead. He is the main. Right. He's the main guy. He plays the lawyer. I'm gonna say he plays the guy who's trying to get the medal of honor for this fallen hero from Vietnam. And he has to go. What his job is, he goes to the hero's father and some of his Vietnam war mates, and they tell all these stories, and they all tell, and he really collects his evidence. And at first, he's kind of doing it just because he's supposed to. It's nothing he's not really interested. But of course, by the end, he's really kind of interested and really fights for what he's supposed to do against a semi-evil Bradley Whitford, who is always great in that kind of role, good shit weasel. He plays a great shit weasel in this, as always. But it's really not even Sebastian Stan. It's the supporting roles. Christopher Plummer as the father, William Hurt, my boy Ed Harris, Samuel L. Jackson. They all play his Vietnam veterans, and it's one of Peter Fonda. I think it might be Peter Fonda's last film before he passed, and they all give such nuanced performances. They're all very touched by the war in different ways. They're all very shell shocked. I mean, I shouldn't use that word because it's actual, not the. There is some PTSD, absolutely, but they're not the same. But they're all touched by the war, and they give great, solid, powerful performances. Each of them do. So it goes from strength to strength to strength. So the story itself might be okay, but the performances by them really up the ante for this one for me. And not just Ed Harris, who I do love in this as well, but all of them do. So I really love this as my number 5. So.
I was gonna ask you, like, if this wasn't starring, this didn't have Ed Harris, but you still watched it for some reason, would you recommend this as a movie to watch from 2020?
I would because I said like a Samuel Jackson performance is enough. Samuel Jackson, Peter Fonda, William Hurt all give excellent performances. Bradley Whitford, like I said, is a great shit weasel, and Sebastian Stan does a good job. Does a good job with what he's given. But the performances by Jackson, Fonda, and William Hurt alone make it worth it. And then you give me Ed Harris on top. That's why would I have known about this movie without Ed Harris? Probably not. Probably not. But I'm glad I got to see it for that reason.
Yeah.
So
that's why I asked if Ed Harris wasn't in this, and for some reason you still saw it, because obviously Ed Harris is your starter to put this movie on. Right.
Absolutely, but I mean, and unfortunately, because like the movie wasn't promoted very well. I didn't really hear much about it.
It wasn't. So, it wasn't released here at all in any capacity. And now that I looked it up as well, it feels like I mean, it says that it's a 2019 movie, but it got released in 2020. So kind of like a weird correlation there.
Yeah, I think it was released in a festival, maybe potentially at the end of this. It's one of those like short out type thing. It was released in a festival somewhere. It got its wide release, I believe. I saw it in theaters when it came out in the theaters for me, which was January of 2020. That's when it came out in the theaters for me. So
okay,
if it doesn't count, then you know what I'm saying it counts because it's my list. So screw you.
Got it.
Not you.
So
not you,
wait. Let me get this straight. This is a movie about the Vietnam War, where the soldiers didn't get enough recognition. They're trying to get medals of honor for them. If they do fail, does that mean that they have to go to an island, get some weapons, force the hand of the government?
It could have gone that route. That would have been a much more different story from it. But yeah. Always got to come back to the general.
We're always coming back to the world,
and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
All right, what's your number 4?
All right, my number 4 is definitely not on your list, but I have seen it pop up on other people's top 10s actually, which is I'm so happy, and it's called Another Round. It's a Danish movie about high school teachers. Now, bear with me, it's way more interesting than it sounds. It's actually the teachers find out that there is a theory that every person when they're born with the deficiency of a 0.5 per mil alcohol, like that your body is missing 0.5, I don't know, percentage or per mil. Do they say per mil in English?
I think it's how they do different.
Pretty much, it's an alcohol deficiency in the body, and one professor comes up with a theory that to be more efficient, you should consume a little bit of alcohol every day to keep that missing alcohol level in your blood level and in your body. Yeah, and these teachers decide to, because they're middle-aged guys, they some have families, they're sort of, well, it's a midlife crisis type of situation, different type for all of them, and they decide to test that theory. So they start to consume alcohol every day. They see their performance go up. That is, but I'm not going to spoil the movie. They see their performance go up, and they start to ramp it up level by level to see how far they can take it. And that's it's not a comedy. It is definitely a hard-hitting drama, but it works in such an uplifting way. At the end, there's some tough moments in this movie, and Mads Mikkelsen, he's actually starring in this. He was the reason why I actually watched the movie, and he's becoming one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. Like, he's slowly getting up. Like, he's becoming, I feel like, my Ed Harris.
Okay.
Like wow. Seriously, he's doing such a great job. and that movie just blew me away. I went to the cinema. I got myself a glass of wine. I went with 2 friends, just like the movie has, like 4 friends together. And it just left such an impression on me. I know it's a Danish movie, so there's probably a lot of people that don't want to watch a movie with subtitles. I will say this now. I think Hollywood is going to be remaking this. This feels like just like what happened with the Intouchables.
Okay.
They remade that. Was the Norwegian movie with the vampires? Let Me In or Let the Right One In, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I do. You're not. Yep.
This feels just prime for a Hollywood remake. They don't need to because this works just fine. But I'm completely sure that they're going to be making it. But yeah, that movie, that is a sort of like a dark horse one on my list. But I'm so happy that I got to see this movie, and I would recommend anyone to see it.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. We'll go to my number 4 then, which I don't know what to see if there's going to be a punt one or not. I don't know. It's Tenet. Punting. Okay.
Punting.
All right.
Is your number 4?
It's my number 4.
All right.
It's my number 4.
Okay.
I'll take that. Tenet with Richard Jarvi.
Okay.
The one I'll toss up there now was one I actually watched just recently in the past couple of weeks, and it was talked about a lot when it came out. It kind of got mixed reviews, but I fell in love, and that was The Old Guard. Okay. I loved The Old Guard. It almost cracked my top.
The Old Guard.
I loved it so much, and I don't know what it was about it. Like, here, my long trail of thought is this. I loved John Wick when that came out. And when Charlize Theron was going to do Atomic Blonde, I was very excited about like the female version of John Wick, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And Atomic Blonde disappointed in a lot of ways. There's not a lot to it that I really did love. The Old Guard makes up for that in so many different ways by crossing over genres. Like, it's a superhero movie, but it's also like if you take the old Highlander movie, combine it with the Highlander stuff, combine it with a little bit of John Wick action, as if written by Anne Rice and the Vampire, like the old school like Interview with the Vampire thing, because it's a great superhero group as it is. The action sequences are top notch. It's a beautifully choreographed action sequences left and right. There's some goriness to it. There's some real blood and guts to it. But there's also this great exploration of what it feels like to be immortal, to be someone who's going to live, if not forever, but close to forever, watching people die around you, but also the idea of being alone for all that time. The horror that you can go through. There's some little mid stories about the original relationship that Charlize had with this woman who was also immortal. And she lost her to this like torturous way. Like, this woman was put into some kind of sarcophagus and thrown into the ocean and drowned. But like, she keeps coming back to life. So for 500 years, she's like drowning, coming back to life, drowning. And it was just terrifying way they described it and showed part of it. The only negative I had about it was that maybe some of the Old Guard outside of Charlize wasn't explored as fully as potentially as possible. They're more archetypes, but they did their job. You had the gay couple together that showed what you could have as an immortal. These two who lived together, loved together. And I love the fact that nothing was made about them being. It wasn't like these guys are gay. We got to show that they're gay. I was like, this is very much. They were just two homosexual guys who were in a loving, passionate, loving relationship, and it was treated as if it was just a thing, which is something we need to see more of. I think.
I agree.
Just having it be completely representative of it. I loved that. But then you had the other aspect. You had the other guy. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, the guy who gets outcast.
Yes, the guy who he
sorry,
spoilers. Well, to a degree, yeah.
It's a mild spoiler.
Not spoil it away. But his being alone and how that works. We also have the newest immortal. You get that. There's a lot of different perspectives in there. I feel like it's a world that could go many different ways. We have a potential franchise here if done right. I know that there's a potential sequel if there's like a mid-credit scene or end-credit scene that definitely shows you where a sequel could go. Who knows if we're going to get one or not? I don't know. But I do think it was one of those movies that was probably made not for too much money, but did exactly what it needed to do. So I liked it quite a bit.
I did like the world building aspect of it and the mythos, everything behind it, the lore. But the execution was where it fell a little flat for me. But still, like if they do these type of sci-fi fantasy movies, I'm always intrigued because I love these ambitious endeavors, and sort of I just want them to go there and like fully, like you said, the torture scene, or sort of have someone die, like that is like overwhelmingly difficult to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But exactly something that if you can't kill someone, you can do the even like that's the next worst thing, not the next, it's even worse than dying, right. I feel like, because you just these interesting things that get explored. But yeah, something felt, I don't know, like blank or empty for me in the movie. I don't know what it is. I wanted to rewatch the movie last night just so you and I can talk about it, because I remember you told me that this is very high on your list, and I was like, okay, I need to rewatch this. Maybe I'll come around. But the first time I saw it, it was something was missing. I don't know what that something was, but
something in your soul. It was your fault, I think.
Oh, my soul is barren.
All right. What? Well, we go to your number 3 then, I believe, then.
Yep, my number 3. So this is a weird one. Again, this is a documentary. David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet. Now, I feel so pretentious now. I'm wearing a turtleneck and I'm talking about a documentary. So you're not vegan? Should be. Shame. But this documentary left an impression on me that, I don't know, there haven't been a lot of movies with a message that really stuck with me, because usually when these environmental documentaries come out, they feel like, I don't know, they feel sort of they're looking down on you, or they're trying to make you do different things. But this was just David Attenborough's whole life. His documentaries, his life work was concentrated into this one documentary, and they really showed you not necessarily what's going to happen, but what could happen if we just keep neglecting the things, and not in a condescending way,
right?
And sort of a heartbreaking, just like not a call to arms, but just he just asked people to pay attention and truly listen, because I feel like these things have to be said, but it doesn't leave you with a bitter note, which I loved, because at some point it shows you this hypothetical world that we might end up in. And just when you think that like this is actually like what's going to happen, he turns it around. He's like, there's a way we can do better. There's a way we can change it. At the moment, it's not so bad. And it turns around into a positive message, which is, oh man, I just want to rewatch the movie again now that I'm talking about it. But yeah, I would never have put a documentary that high up on my list. Mm-hmm. But this was just something that stuck with me. And I'm glad that I put Another Round and a documentary on here. David Attenborough's. These two have. I feel like I'm getting old. Now that I think of it, like putting these types of movies on my list.
Younger than me, man. I still don't do it. So maybe you're just old in your soul. That's what it is.
I'm an old soul. I'm an old guard.
Old guard. That's what it is. That's fine. I mean, I'm not a documentary guy. It's hard for me unless I like. If it's a documentary on Queen, or a documentary on Star Wars, or on Ed Harris, I'd watch in a heartbeat. Otherwise, I'm kind of like, I'd rather watch something escapism for me. But I mean, that's perfectly fine. I know a lot of people do love them, so I'm happy that you got enjoyment out of it, and hopefully, maybe somebody else will take a shot at it. Somebody else.
Yeah. Did you watch The Last Dance?
No, I still haven't watched that.
Okay, so you're not you are a basketball, but you're just not a Bulls guy.
I'm actually not even a huge basketball guy. I wasn't a basketball guy since that was the time I like basketball back in the Larry Bird.
You love the Celtics. Yeah.
That was the day. So, I mean, I probably would like it more than I've been told I should watch it. I probably will eventually. There's a lot of series and stuff I'm trying to catch up on at this point, but we'll see. But it's a documentary. I guess I do like sports. I do watch a lot of Red Sox documentaries. I did watch a lot of those. I guess I could watch them, but I'm watching more documentaries. I think maybe I should give it a shot. Maybe I'll actually like it. Who knows? But I'm sorry. It looks like your guy muted somehow. I'm missing it all of a sudden. What did you do? Why don't you just jump out and come back in, and we'll see what happens. I'll vamp as I do well. Well, here we are now at Class Action starring PLD. That's what we're doing here today. But what else we're doing? I'll do another honorable mention while we're waiting for Jarvi to come back. I saw another movie recently, towards the end of the year, like the other day, called Host. It's a Shudder original, and it's a 56-minute movie. And it's a great 56-minute movie. I think you got Jarvi back. I'll talk to him and get that in there. Can we hear you? Are you back?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened. That was very strange. But I got into a story, so I'm going to have to quickly finish it up while you're here. Host. It's a 56-minute Shudder original horror movie. If you've ever seen the Unfriended franchise, it's kind of like similar to that, but it's all based on, it's almost like a big Zoom advertisement. It's during the pandemic. So these friends get together on a Zoom conversation. They start trying to channel spirits, and it's a very effectively done horror film. A lot of jump scares, a lot of like moments of demonic possession, that kind of thing. It's not a lot. It's very low budget. It works. It does what it's like a very economical movie. The script is done pretty.
The Host.
Well. Just Host.
Just Host. Okay.
So it's a quick. Like I said, it's a 56-minute movie, so it's fun. It's fun, quick, and I got through it with no problem. So I do say it's a good movie. So that's another honorable mention for me. So
gotcha. So that was David Attenborough was my number 3. I think we're on to yours now.
We're going to where you we punted the first time. This is where I put Palm Springs.
Okay. Good. Because I think I was like, you probably would have still watched the movie, but this is where I think this is a movie that I told you to watch. Like I was like completely taken by a storm with this movie, and I was, this is the best movie of the year. Like, my God, it's perfect. Oh, and I'm so glad that you love it.
It is. I mean, I was a big Groundhog Day fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was back in the day when it came out. One of my favorite movies I watch over and over again. So I obviously had when I heard about the movie, I'm kind of like, okay, so it's like Groundhog Day. Then I realized it's like the adult version of Groundhog's Day, and I do love
Groundhog Day is an adult version of Groundhog Day.
Well, yeah, but this is the more R-rated. Like, there's a lot. Because
Bill Murray, he kills himself, and as he sleeps with women, he kind of.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more. There's a lot more cursing. There's a lot more nudity. There's a lot more like. It's more adult matter. They get a little darker in Palm Springs, I think, than they do.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do any drugs there. True.
It's like there's moments of it, but nobody's trying to kill him. Like when it was hunting, J.K. Simmons hunting him down.
Oh my God!
And I got it. It's fine. I mean, I love me some Andy Samberg. I love me some J.K. Simmons, and I think Kristen Milioti was a great choice. And she pulls it off very well. I kind of hope we see more of her in different films. It's ride or die on Andy Samberg, and if you like Andy Samberg, you're gonna like this show or this movie.
Love him.
And if you don't love him, you're not going to like the movie, I don't think. But it was a very well done, well received movie that it did exactly what it needed to do. Didn't try to do too much. Didn't reach too far. It took its premise and went in zany directions, but never really lost the heart of what it was of these two characters. And it was just what I needed. It was hilarious. I laughed like out loud the entire time. I love pretty much everything about this movie. There's not much I didn't like about this movie. So this is why it's my
you touched upon it a little bit. There's like J.K. Simmons, like Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti, sure. But J.K. Simmons and his moments, like when he finally shows up at J.K.'s house and they have a chat and everything goes down, that like grounds the movie. Yeah. It's still ridiculous how the scene ends up, like in a trash can. So I'm not going to say anymore. But just perfectly sums up the important things in life and
perfectly executed. It's really well. So I loved it. That's my number 3. That's my number 3. So
all right, my number 5 and your number 3.
Yep. So we're going to your number 2 now.
My number 2. Now this is where I punted Tenet too.
Okay. That's where I kind of figured we were going with that.
Tenet is number 2, and I'll come clean. Tenet wasn't a letdown, but it wasn't what I hoped that it was going to be the first time I saw it. Yeah. Now, I've seen this movie four times, I think. The second watch, I was like, this is genius. Like, Christopher Nolan is a genius. The way he orchestrated the entire thing. But is a movie supposed to be great on the second watch or the first watch? It's supposed to be great on the first watch. Maybe I'm like too dumb of a moviegoer that I need to watch this, but the first time I was like, well, understandably, because they shot the movie in Tallinn, Estonia, like for the majority of the movie, which was like, if you're like, sure, if you live in the States, you're like, oh, they shot this here. I've been there. Like nothing gets done in Estonia. Like this is like the biggest thing that ever happened to Estonia. Put us on the map. You got to like, they walk by where I am right now, like in front of my house. They walk by. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. This is the greatest thing ever. So the first time I watched this movie, I was just like, oh, this happened. And since I was extra in 2 scenes, I was like, oh, that's me there. That's me there. That was crazy.
So you have a tie to it, obviously, other people don't. I get
sure.
That. I will say that I don't know how to word it either. Christopher Nolan, Interstellar was my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Same here.
Still, I still watch it, and I feel like I like it more and more every time I see it. But then Dunkirk to me was a big letdown. I liked it, but I didn't love it like a lot of the films. Like Nolan had a good run for movies: Batman, Prestige, Batman, Dark Knight Returns, Dark Knight Rises, Inception, and these are all movies like I was like, yes, Christopher Nolan. I want to see a Christopher Nolan movie now. Dunkirk kind of ruined that streak for me. I kind of didn't love it as much. Tenet, I was hoping would be the rebound, and it almost was.
Right? In a way, it was.
I liked it better than Dunkirk. I absolutely liked it better than Dunkirk. It did feel a little like he's playing his greatest hits to a degree. He's doing a little bit like where it was. I agree. It was almost too clever for its own good, too smart for its own good. We're gonna rely on the gimmick a little bit too much. Another story, performances were a little too. I don't know the word they're looking for. I don't want to say dry or open-ended, but like they're almost like they're shell performances. They weren't quite as in-depth as some of his characters have been before.
With the exception of Pattinson, I feel like.
Pattinson had moments. No, Pattinson had some great moments. I think Kenneth Branagh had some great moments as well.
This is where I have problems. Branagh.
You didn't like Kenneth Branagh in that.
No,
I loved this. I thought he was dark, and I loved everything. I thought he was actually Kenneth Branagh was actually my favorite part of the movie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, more than Pattinson was, to be honest.
For me, it was by far Pattinson. I feel like Kenneth Branagh totally overplayed, totally overcooked his like Russian oligarch villain.
I see.
Too much. I
think it needed it. I think it needed a little bit of that because that's what was a little bit. That's partially what was missing was this like commitment to things. Like as much as I love John David Washington. John David Washington.
John David Washington.
It is John David Washington. Okay, John David Washington. I love him in everything I've seen him in so far. Everything, Ballers, HBO show, Black Klansman, and everything else. He just was a little lacking in this for me.
Same.
It didn't win me over. So without that lead role, I need a villain who I could really shoot for. That's why I went with it. Pattinson was good, but it was mostly like to me, Pattinson at the end during some of the reveals. That's when Pattinson won me over. So it took me till the end to really get it with him in a way.
That's why a second watch will turn it around for you. You're paying attention to his reactions, how he like because he's like spoilers for Tenet a little bit now. Because you find out that he knows, like he's met him before, and sort of the way they first meet, you're sort of looking into Pattinson's eyes, and his like you can tell that he knows more than he leads on.
I should watch because I should watch again because one of the major problems I have is the sound design, and Chris Nolan is known for these big wah noises and big sound bubbles like that, but it kind of was to the detriment of the film. I missed a lot of dialogue. Because of the sound things. So I want to watch it with subtitles pretty much. I get the sound helps it in a way sometimes and it helps the atmosphere. But sometimes I think again, Chris Nolan was almost too clever for his own good for this with this sound design. Here I am picking this apart. It's your second favorite film here. And it was my fourth favorite film.
Right.
But
I think it's I think it's totally fine. We can pick things apart. The fact that they're on both of our lists means that it's one of the biggest films of the year, and by far it is.
Right.
I mean, scale wise, let's say that.
So they're all nitpicks from us as far as it goes, because the story itself is really cool. There's a lot of cool moments. Christopher Nolan, of course, has his shtick that really works. He does it well. So I overall definitely liked it. Maybe a little smidge too long, maybe a smidge long that it had to be, maybe. But all in all, I did like it as my number 4. So
yeah, and the music, the score, Ludwig Göransson knocks it out of the park. Like I'm still bummed for sure for Hans Zimmer not being able to do this, but that just means that we're getting a Hans Zimmer score on Dune. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay
with that. I'm okay with that too. All right, we'll move on to my number 2. I don't know if this is working out. I guess it's not going to be on your list. I'm surprised. I don't think it's number 1. So, but maybe it is. Who knows? The Invisible Man.
That is one of my honorable mentions.
Okay. Lee Winnell directed.
Number 2 on your list.
Number 2 on my list. I mean, I admittedly am a big horror buff. I know this about myself. And this was one of the most well-crafted horror film, mainstream like horror films that I had seen. Like, I feel like there was talk. I don't know if it's still. I know there's a lot of. I think it's gotten lost as far in recency bias, like whatever the opposite of recency bias is. Like, it's got to get to the side. There's talk of Elizabeth Moss even possibly getting a potential nod at some point. This is such a movie that sucked me in, kept me on the edge of my seat. The twists and turns were not necessarily predictable. There's moments where you want to scream at the scene itself. The music was good. The direction was spot on, economical. There's never a missed beat in the story. Every single moment on camera, even like the pauses, even like the moments where stuff
the silences.
Everything was done for a reason. There was not a missed opportunity there in the whole film to me.
Very smart movie making in that part. Yeah, using empty corners, empty spaces, just using silence. You're expecting for a jump scare. It's not coming, and it's destroying you inside.
Right. And then when something does come, it gets you even more because everyone's built up to not see it at that point. And Elizabeth Moss is great. Is a wonderful actress. She does a wonderful job in this role. The whole cast is pretty decent overall, but she's definitely the reason why the film works. So her and Lee Winnell. I hope Lee Winnell comes back and makes some more solid horror movies. That's actually the second movie I have not seen. He directed Insidious.
He did Upgrade
3, which I didn't ever get. I don't remember seeing, but Upgrade is the other one.
You did see Upgrade.
I did see Upgrade, and we both loved Upgrade. We both thought it was a underrated film at the time. So he's trending upwards for me. He's a director I definitely want to see what he's going to be doing next with things. I think he's actually slated. I'm not.
He is. He's actually one of those like super trending directors in Hollywood at the moment. Right. I would even I don't want to call him he's not overrated, but his hype is his name is so high right now that I hope that his next movie is gonna be some sort of a sci-fi twist again. This is what he does best, and this is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I could be.
If I'm not mistaken, The Invisible Man, it also jump-started re-jump-started the monster sort of verse or monster universe or whatever they call it.
The other take on the old horror. Yeah, in a way I think it does. Well, I think that's one of the ones he's doing next. I think he's slated to do a Wolfman movie. So it'd be a similar type thing.
Aren't they already doing that one with Gosling?
Yeah, I think he's slated to direct it, I think.
Okay.
At least that's what Letterboxd is saying. I don't know if that's entirely true. Hopefully it is. Because I'd love to see Lee Winnell and Gosling.
Oh, for sure.
That'd be a great thing. I know he's also at one point been discussed to take the remake of Escape from New York. I don't know how that's going to work.
Mm-hmm. Me neither.
I'll have to see. I'll look it up and see. Ryan Gosling. I'll check that.
Because let me think. Invisible Man, the Wolfman. I feel like there's something else that's already been filmed that's coming out.
Nothing as far as Letterboxd is all he's got. So,
okay.
Way, I don't know, but either way, regardless, if they are the ones he does next, I'm excited to see him. I want to see anything he does at this point. I'm all in on him. So at this point, so we've reached your number 1.
my number one, and you probably guessed it because I've been talking about this movie. We even talked about this movie at the beginning of the show. Number one spot goes to Soul. This
This
movie,
is what I've heard from a billion different people, and I can't
it
say a
did
word.
touch my soul, and it did what Inside Out failed to do for me. I know everyone loves Inside Out, and I do love the concept. I love the execution. Something wasn't there for me. Like I was like, sure, this is a good movie, but it didn't get me in the feels, for lack of a better word, as Soul did. And I don't know. It's just classic Disney doing what they do best. It definitely uses the same tropes as Inside Out does. Like you've probably seen the trailer, like the soul, like out of the body. There's like they're like these little blue things that So Inside Out had these feelings. They sort of transform them into their own souls, and they adventure around in the I don't even know what it's called, man, the afterlife or something like that. But what I did love is the jazz aspect of it and the real life things that happen with. If I'm not mistaken, it's Jamie Foxx who does the voice.
I believe
for the lead, and jazz music, New York. This says it uses the themes that I love the most, and it just I don't know what to call it without spoiling the movie. That it's I'm not sure if it's the best. I probably would say it's the best Disney animated movie, not a cartoon, because Lion King will always be like my number one.
Right.
But I think it's the best Disney animated movie.
Okay.
I've ever seen, because I truly don't know if there's anything else that could top it.
That's interesting.
And it's one of those movies that I finished and I was like, okay, and I feel empty, and I put it on again because it just needed that surge. Wow. Like I didn't watch it like all the way. I had it in the background, but I just needed the music. I needed the vibe. I needed to keep myself in this sort of mood that the movie put me in.
It is kind of funny you mentioned Inside Out. That is a comparison I've heard. Now, after my Schwarzenegger, I'm actually going to do a Pixar watch through, because I realized that a lot of the Action Army generals love Pixar, and they talk about Pixar a lot, and I kind of said I'd do it and then rank them that way. But what I do remember from Pixar is Inside Out is probably my favorite of the Pixar films for that reason. So that, with you saying that and everybody else saying that, I'm definitely curious to watch Soul and see if it does jump into my top 5 after that. I'll have to find a way to maybe readjust this list afterwards, potentially. But I can't say it because I didn't see it. So.
There's so much clever humor in there as well. Sure, like hits you in the feels, but it does these really funny little inside jokes. And sort of, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's one about basketball that is just I think Ben and Drew actually mentioned this on Unfiltered or one of their shows, like when they talk. Oh yeah, it's all the best Pixar movie. There is a basketball moment in this movie that I was just pausing, rewinding, like recording this scene, sending it to all my basketball friends who love basketball, because it was just too good.
I do want to see it, so I can't. I'm hopefully going to watch it this week when I can get around to it. But I'll let you guys know, and I'll let you know specifically how much I like the film or not afterwards. I won't wait. I'll watch that before I do my Pixar watch through, and I'll probably end up watching it again, so it's okay.
But let me know. Definitely let me know what you think.
I will. All right, we're up with my number one. My number one film of the year so far. So far in terms of like, given that the misses I have.
I know what it is.
You do. You know what it is.
I'll give you.
It might be a surprise. It might be a surprise. It's the one that doesn't have reality. Doesn't have any reasons to buy it. That's for sure. It's the last movie I think I saw in the movie theaters before the shutdown in here, and it's The Way Back. And I am unapologetic about telling you that. I know it's almost like I feel like the movie had great buzz when it came out, and like now no one talks about it, no one mentions it, and it's almost like it was okay. I kind of hear nowadays. I love this film.
Me too.
With all of my heart and soul. I love Gavin O'Connor as a director. I love Ben Affleck as an actor. The way that Ben Affleck channeled his real life situation into this character, into this film, making it work, is a touching, beautiful story to me. It's a sports movie. It's a cathartic movie. And is it perfect? No, it's not. But I almost love it even for its flaws. Like you make it better in a way.
The imperfections kind of
right
are perfections.
Exactly, that's what it is. There's moments where there's times where you're like, how is this going to end? How is this going to possibly get work? And it doesn't end super happy. It's like a definitely bittersweet kind of ending to it, and that too made it better. I gotta say, I love them together in The Accountant. As far as that was a great team up in The Accountant. I love Warrior from Gavin. But this film really seemed like a big mature step for Gavin O'Connor and for Ben Affleck. I want to see them work together more. They seem, because Gavin seems to bring out a really good side of Ben as far as powerful goes. I don't know. Obviously, the personal side helped quite a bit. But the whole
Not
film
sure if helped is the right word. Even I feel like this was a painful and a cathartic experience for him.
I think Ben needed this movie. That's kind of what I felt like when I was watching it. And Jennifer Garner said that. There's actually a story that Jennifer Garner called up Gavin O'Connor and said, wait for him. He's coming out of rehab to do this movie, but he really needs and wants to do this movie. And to their credit, they did wait for him. It was kind of a weird thing. He's coming out of rehab, and then he has to do this kind of role. It's
I can't wrap my head around this. Like I told you, I rewatched the movie yesterday. It's super fresh in my mind. I was like watching the seas drink, watching him drink beer and do these fucked up things, in a weird way, it still made me want to have a drink. I know that it's messed up, but I was like, I'm feeling like a beer right now, even though I see how it's messing up his life. What would that do to a recovering alcoholic? That is drinking this alcohol-free beer or something that, resembles beer and whiskey and whatever. I can't.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Tough. It feels impossible, sort of how would that help him? But I hope that it did.
Too. And I don't know, maybe that's a cheat. Maybe it's a cheat for me to put on as my favorite movie of the year because of that aspect to it, but I can't divorce the two. The personal side of the story affected me so much that I really loved where they went with it. So that is my number one. I'm sure that people tell me how wrong I am in the chat, and that's okay. I can shoulder it. I love what I love. I'm not apologetic about it. So that's what we have here. Do we have any other honorable mentions that we want to mention? We want to talk about? Do we have a little bit extra time here? Films that maybe did not make our top 10, but you kind of think you should maybe take a look at and see what you think.
There is another Pixar movie that I really loved, and sort of I feel bad for it because I feel like Soul is now sort of overshadowing it. It's Onward. It's Chris Pine and Tom Holland in this sort of fairy tale land. It's like Zootopia, but with races from Lord of the Rings. Sort of what would that world be like? And that is a really cool concept and such a heartwarming movie. Have you seen that one?
I have not seen that one either. It's a Pixar movie. I don't tend not to see them right away. I tend to miss them for a long time. So
I would if you do watch so I know a double back to back watch might be time consuming, but if you would, then have these both lined up and watch them.
Well, worst comes to worst, I'm going to watch it when I watch my Pixar watch through anyway. I definitely will get to some point for sure in the near future. Well, sort of near future, but okay. One of the ones I'll throw out there is an honorable mention. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Ted 3 came just under my top 10. I did love the movie for what it was. It was one of the movies that it wasn't going to be a wowing movie. Bill and Ted is definitely a nostalgia property for me. I love the first two, but there's a reason why it was never really. It was kind of it's kind of hard to explain. They were never I'm going to be crucified for saying this. They weren't great movies. They were just fun nostalgia movies. And Bill and Ted Face the Music fit up well with them. I think they actually, if you like the first two films, you'll probably end up liking Bill and Ted 3. Same kind of hilarity, same kind of hijinks. It's Keanu Reeves doing his Keanu Reeves thing, even at that age. And Alice Winter does a great thing. Everything's pretty well done overall. I definitely this was enough to make it into my top 10, but I was very happy it was made and very happy I got to watch it. It was a lot of fun overall.
I've heard a lot of good buzz around the third one, and this is where one of my classic gaps comes in again, because I haven't seen any of these.
Okay. That's why you should do it for some point.
I
Triple
should.
threat.
I should.
If we were roommates, we would have a triple threat of this for sure.
Oh, for sure. Like right now, like after the show, we'd watch it.
How about you? Anything else that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, one of my this is my old guard, and this movie is Extraction. Chris Hemsworth, Netflix movie. I friggin' love that action one. That's just like a pure adrenaline action movie. And Sam Hargrave, is it Sam Hargrave or Greaves? Sam Hargrave, I feel like. What he did for that movie, like I saw these behind the scenes videos of him being actually strapped onto these cars. Like he shot the movie as well as directed it. He shot, like he was a stuntman in this movie. Like he is actually a stuntman, like a stunt unit director. But he was the director and the cameraman, and he was just insane. The stuff that he did. If you haven't seen the scenes that I'm talking about, go on YouTube, watch them. But the movie itself, it's like a first-person shooter type of movie in ways. But what was the movie? Hardcore Henry. Yeah, that movie was supposed to be like this sort of first-person shooter that's gonna transcend gaming and movie making into this one awesome thing. I think it fell flat, but Extraction does all of that, but still keeps the cinematic vibe to it, because I feel like Hardcore Henry sort of missed that cinematic vibe to it.
Fair enough. I will say that I did have Extraction as possible an honorable mention as well, although it's kind of funny. I think Extraction is to you what Old Guard is to me. I think it's exactly, and vice versa. I felt Extraction to be a little weaker than Old Guard in some things. I did like a lot of the action sequences. I did like Chris Hemsworth at all, but I thought the world building in Old Guard is what tipped it over for me versus Extraction. That being said, I would love to see another Extraction movie, so that was well done. Even if Chris Hemsworth was perhaps
don't you dare.
I think he was a bit minorly miscast in it. I do think he was miscast. I think he was good in the role, but there's something about him. He's too chipper of a guy to play this role, I think, in a way. He's just too bright of a guy to play this kind of role. That dang, dirty, down in the dumps kind of thing. I mean, I know he does well with Thor when he's depressed. I get it, but I don't know, something about it. I have a hard time believing he's this guy. Thor being depressed, I can buy. This guy, like in the real world,
You heard it, Marvel. We want a depressed Thor movie. Bring us the way back Thor version.
There you go.
We actually got that with Fat Thor a little bit, but
we did. Yeah, it was too busy. Exactly. Maybe we'll see, like the Infinity War from the perspective of only Fat Thor, so we want to get his part of the story. So, all right. Last one I'll throw out there is, I'll put it out there because I have to. Resistance with Ed Harris. It's a movie where Jesse Eisenberg plays Marcel Marceau, famous French mime. It's a decent film. I say with Ed Harris. It's actually very, very, very barely with Ed Harris. He's in like Ed Harris plays Patton, and he's in like the first 3 minutes of the movie and the last 3 minutes of the movie. That's a really bad Ed, but it's okay. The rest of the film is decent though. Jesse Eisenberg does a good job, and a little bit of a weird accent to it. But overall, it's a kind of a cool story of the underground at the time. If you like World War II movies, it might be a nice view for you. But that's
it's a World War II movie.
It is. Okay. It is about Mark Somerset, the famous French mime. It's Jewish Boy Scouts and the French Resistance saving the lives of the orphans in World War II. So it's not like a big battle World War II movie. It's during around World War II and stuff like that. So I'll throw that out there. Okay.
I think we should talk about the biggest letdown, or sort of the biggest shit bomb of the year.
All right, we'll do that. Why not? Do you have one you want to mention?
There's actually two, but for some reason, okay, I'll just throw it out there. There's two, and oh my god, I just realized why this is gonna look so bad. because both movies have like strong female leads. Now I apologize in advance, but it just happened that these movies fell short. It's Mulan and Wonder Woman 84.
Ooh, okay.
Mulan, I was so excited for. No, that was like a big miss. But Wonder Woman, for some reason, since we had the first movie, our expectations were already there. To have, because you've seen that, you haven't seen that movie yet.
One of them, yes, Wonder Woman I have.
Okay.
And I thought it was actually okay. It wasn't great, but I wouldn't put it as a complete shit bomb. But it's
parts of it were okay. Parts of it, like the final, the ending, everything fell completely flat. The movie started amazingly. Like when we see Diana go through the Themyscira sort of trial or their run, and when we see the 80s like start around, like the origin story of Cheetah, everything was great. When Pedro Pascal comes with the wish stone, or what's it called, that's when it's just Dreamstone. That's when it starts to fall apart. Like, I don't know. I know they tried to do what Superman 2 did, and you can tell that they're going for that campy style. But there's a way to do campy, and this wasn't there. It was too big of a tonal change from the first one, and it did not deliver.
I don't think the tonal change is the problem. I don't think the tonal, for me, this is why it's not a shit bomb, but it's not a tonal change that the problem was. It was more the script itself didn't know what it wanted to do. And that was the problem I had. The performances were great. The script was too sloppy for me to really make it through. But
especially the Steve Trevor part. Now, sure, it feels like the easy thing to crap on, but I feel like they didn't do anything with Steve Trevor and his story. They brought, like, okay, spoilers for Wonder Woman, both Wonder Woman movies. What happens with Steve Trevor is just copy paste from the first one. He comes into her life, they're together, he has to die, she's sad, she gets empowered by that moment. Exactly the same thing happens in the second one. We know that, okay, she misses him and sort of she already knows who she's getting back, but nothing, the character progress isn't there. Nothing really. They go around, they watch some art, there's funny bits here and there. The way he hijacks the dude's body is sort of weird. I don't need it explained, but it's still a bit weird. Like,
there's a lot. I get that. So
yeah. That is my. If I had to pick one, and I'm sorry for these both being female-led movies, it just happened to be that. Wonder Woman probably gets the prize for the biggest letdown.
I have two I'll quickly mention as well. One of them because I had not high expectations for it, but I'll talk about the other one first. The first one I'll talk about actually is a movie called Eurovision.
Dude, no, I love that one.
It was so god awful. Will Ferrell, I love Will. I wanted it to be good. I wanted Will Ferrell to be good. I love Rachel McAdams. Everything about it. It just was so painfully unfunny to me.
Have you watched the Eurovision Song Contest ever?
No, I've seen bits of it. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe it would make it better for me. Maybe, but I didn't like. I never felt. I laughed at like one or two things, but they're mostly kind of like chuckles. I like Pierce Brosnan. I love so much about the piece of the movie, but I just felt so bored. I never got in. Like I just couldn't do it. At the end,
I'm sad to hear that.
I know it's funny because actually when I watched it, some people were high on it and they're like, "Oh, it's actually pretty funny." I wanted to love it. There's like just brief moments. I think it's a script that's the problem because I think they didn't know it. I think they relied a little bit too much on Will Ferrell trying to improvise things and Rachel McAdams trying to play off that. I feel like that's the way it went wrong. I don't know for sure, but it just didn't do it for me. The other film I'll shit on, well, my least favorite film of the year was a film called Fantasy Island, but I don't even want to talk about that one.
Oh no, that was god awful.
But the one I
don't know, because it's such a small caliber movie that it sort of didn't make my worst of the year. I don't know.
That's why I ranked it last because I just didn't like it. There's another movie one movie I do want to mention. It's a movie called The Turning. I
Sounds
wanted to
familiar.
love this because I love, like I said, I'm a big horror buff. I love horror movies, and this is what basically this movie was about: a woman quitting her teaching job to become a governess for like this wealthy young heiress who had seen her parents die.
Sounds like Bly Manor.
It is a lot like that, actually. It's very much like that. And it is. It's kind of similarly based on the same story to a degree. To a
Oh.
degree, it's similarly. It's because the turning of the screw is the book that they're based on in a way.
Hmm.
It's at least similarly. It's definitely thematically there. This has Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things in it, but the lead actress, is Mackenzie Davis,
Hmm.
and I love Mackenzie Davis.
Me too.
I heard of Finn Wolfhard's in it. I saw Mackenzie Davis in it. I love Mackenzie Davis, and I love solid. Even if it's a cheap horror film, it doesn't have to be spectacular for me. But it just even the score was actually really good. I gotta say, I don't know where it went wrong. That's a problem. I wish I had a way to say. Even like with the review I had written for it, like on my letterbox, I was like, "This is good. This is good." I think the problem was a script, but I'm not really sure where it went. It was just kind of the standard stuff, and at the finish, doesn't really finish. There's like this really weird reveal at the end. It
Hmm.
totally took me out. It wasn't even like enjoyably bad. It just sucked. And I felt really bad because I wanted it to be great because I love Mackenzie Davis so much. Mackenzie Davis is someone I have a crush on and I
Yeah.
see her. So that I think that's why I gave it such a hard time is that I wanted to love it so much, but I couldn't do it. But
To end on a happier note with Mackenzie Davis, happiest season, the Christmas movie that came out with Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis. Loved it.
I
Such
have
a good
not seen
Christmas
that
movie.
yet. I have not seen that yet. It's also one of my other misses, and I've heard that as well. Though I have heard
Mhm.
that. Real quick before we end, let's look forward to 2021, where hopefully, at least maybe midway through the year, hopefully, maybe we get back into theaters. That's the goal. I'd love to get back to the actual experience if they're still standing. I have a whole list of movies I want to see.
Mhm.
I'll just list them out there. I wasn't looking forward to the most, and you can add on after we're done. But here's the ones I got that I wrote down. Right?
The biggest one for both of us, we just get 1, 2, 3, and we say it.
1, 2, 3, Dune.
Dune. Yeah.
That's the one we're looking for. We're big Denis Villeneuve fan. Denis Villeneuve is definitely, if I liked Christopher Walken before, Denis Villeneuve is definitely supplanted Christopher Nolan. He is my favorite current
Christopher
living
Walken.
director. Did I say Christopher Walken? Christopher Nolan.
You know, when I
You
did,
know,
Memento.
shove it up my ass. It's a comfortable hunk of metal. But if I said it, I apologize. I'm tired. But Christopher Nolan was my favorite. Like Denis has definitely supplanted him. I've loved every single Denis movie. I've not yet. He's not had a miss for me yet. And he's getting better. For like Prisoners,
Mhm.
Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049. So he is well suited and ready to give this, and it's a property that's an amazing sci-fi property, which I love, and it's got a great cast. I can't see, and it's got Hans Zimmer. I can't see where it can go wrong. I know it can.
I'm kind of afraid for this movie because we saw what happened with Blade Runner 2049, and I've heard similar things that it gets hyped like it's the new Star Wars, it's the new big thing that's gonna, and just they did some they did some statistics on it for I don't know, but said that it would fail at the box office and that it was gonna be the next Blade Runner 2049. I'm just hoping that it's not the case. I hope the fact that it gets pushed and pushed, it sort of like builds the hype behind it a little bit, because it was supposed to be the biggest movie of 2020 after Tenet, or even bigger than Tenet. So we're waiting, and because I've read the book, I love the book. R.I.P. Dollface, who loves Dune. Love you. So yeah, when I watch Dune, I'll be thinking of her for sure.
Yeah, I get absolutely. I do, and I also I fear for Denis because Denis he hasn't had that many like box office successes. So people the studios aren't going to keep giving him these movies to do if he's not going to return with the box office, and that's sad to me because he's such a beautiful eye, such a beautiful mind for it. So that's my big one. The other ones I'm listening for, Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America, I actually want to see pretty well. The Kingsman, No Time to Die. This Bond movie actually looks very exciting. I'm not a huge Bond guy overall, but this one specifically, I know you are. Godzilla versus Kong, because my reuniting with my brother, who's a big Godzilla fan, he's actually got me hyped up into it. The new Ghostbusters, Top Gun Maverick with Ed Harris. Halloween Kills, The Matrix Part 4, which I really am intrigued by. Spider-Man.
Intrigued is the right word. Because
exactly.
you're like hesitantly excited for it, right?
Right, exactly. And then if Mission Impossible 7 comes out at that point, then that as well. But those are the big ones for me that I'm looking forward to, whether they come out in 2021 or beyond. It's funny, you know what I didn't mention on that list? No Marvel movie I really mentioned, really, or DC movie.
Oh, okay. This is one of the biggest things for me. Zack Snyder.
Oh, the Zack Snyder cut. I don't know if it's a movie. It kind of seems like it's almost like more of a miniseries now.
Oh, it's a movie. Like, sure, they chopped it up. It's just an extended movie, but it's still. I'm still calling it the movie.
Okay, in that case, then that would be on my list. If I ever mentioned Black Widow, I'm kind of like,
yeah, me too. Same here, but I feel like it's gonna turn it around, and it's because we have these big tentpoles like Avengers and like we have Endgame, Spider-Man. It feels like, because Black Widow, she doesn't have superpowers, so in a way you're sort of like, okay, this is gonna be like this sort of like more like filler type of Marvel movie, but I feel like it's gonna surprise us in a big way, because Scarlett Johansson, she was my favorite actress of the last decade, like my favorite actress of the last decade. Like I did like a list of that, and I pretty much for now, she can't do no wrong. Even if she's in a lesser type movie, she's gonna bring her all.
Get that. Spider-Man 3, I did mention Spider-Man 3 is scheduled to come out right now in 2021. Actually, on my birthday.
Casting news about that.
I am intrigued enough by. But then it's like Shang-Chi and the Eternals. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'll see them, but I don't know. I don't know what to say.
A lot of TV stuff coming our way with the Star Wars.
Star Wars series, Marvel series. We already had Cobra Kai come out, which Cobra Kai season 3 came out, and I already
binged it last night, entire season.
I did. It took me 2 nights because I was doing it overnight and work stuff. But yeah, beautiful, loved it. It's amazing how well that's come across. We will have to do some TV stuff. I know you're itching to do some TV stuff.
I really am.
So we'll talk and we'll do that at some point. But that's gonna be it for us tonight. We're going a little bit over. I want to say, Richard, where can the folks find you?
You can find me in Tenet at timecode at Richard Eric with a K Jarvi on Facebook and Instagram. And sometimes, hopefully in the near future, we're going to be doing some extra stuff on Star Wars on PLD projects with Paul Denuzio and Pedor and Matty Gunner. But usually you can find me here weekly on Action Industries on Class Action with PLD.
And we always thank Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. They're the original Action guys. They give us the little space on the web now for this channel, for this show, which we do try to do on a weekly basis when we can. I will stay out there again. PLD Project is something that's going to happen as well. Actually, I've been talking to Medora about 2 possible ideas, but I think that's going to come soon. We're taking a couple weeks off after the Mandalorian reviews. And we'll get back into something. So I'm itching to talk Star Wars. So I'm so excited about everything coming out. So also find me on Action Industries, other channel stuff. We're on Rule the Question was just debuted last night. A lot of great fun on there. There's an Action Guys tonight at 9. At 5 p.m. East Western time, Pacific time, 5 p.m. Western Pacific. Wow, I can't even say it right. 5 p.m. Pacific. And Action Industries, and of course on Call to Action, the Schmodown After podcast that I do as well. That's it. So that's it, guys. There's no justice being served today. Of course, not to be adjourned. No, do anything with that. So I don't even know how to end it at this point. So all I'm going to say is, guys, we salute you. Take care. Like, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think, and we will see you next time. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.